And the first thing on this list is automatic transmissions are better than manual transmissions. What's going on, everybody? It's 10 things that Americans feel like Europeans aren't ready to hear. Coming off the tail end of me making a video where I had 10 things Europeans felt that Americans didn't want to hear, I'm back with another list on the flip side of things. And just like before, I'm gonna kind of give both sides of it where I could agree with it and kind of give some pushback on the other side. So I'll kind of give both sides of what I think of these 10 things that I found on the interwebs. So again, number one, automatic transmissions are better than manual transmission. Here's where I can agree with this. For Americans, the roads and traffic it's operated just a little bit different over in the US, in the States. So for them, having American transmissions kind of works out better. Having less to do on the roads when you're driving in the US makes it easier for Americans to focus on the road and just drive. The pushback I have for this is, no, it ain't. To me, I feel like I'm losing a little bit control of the car. I feel more one with the car when I can shift when I'm ready to shift. For two, it's a little bit more maintenance to have an automatic transmission. More maintenance over the years just says to me, shorter lifespan. So to me, it equals a shorter lifespan of the vehicle. I just prefer standard myself, but that's just me. Number two on my list of things that I found that Americans don't think Europeans want to hear is we know our government is corrupt and we're aware of the nation's issues. I think the people here make this nation a great place, not necessarily the government. We genuinely can accomplish anything we set our minds to. Now, I can kind of get on board with this, but sidebar, it kind of coincides with the end of the what Europeans don't think Americans want to hear video of Americans being very optimistic. Someone on that list was pointing out how Americans can remain within optimism no matter what's going on. And I do personally believe it's great to be full of optimism in a way where it's admirable to always be able to remain positive on the future, even though the present might not be so great. Now, a little bit of pushback on that is when optimism becomes delusion. Because for an example, how many people thought that the 2000s would just be better only to when they got here have to now shift to being hopeful about the 2010s. And then when those got here, now you have to be hopeful about the 2020s. And now we're all hopeful about the 2030s. So it's that right there that kind of messes me up when you're talking about American optimism. That's all. Number three on my list of things that Americans don't think Europeans want to hear, the policy of uncontrolled immigration from the Middle East has been an absolute disaster for you. Okay, so mostly yes. Pushback and no. I'm neither interested nor qualified to go into much of this. So I am not about to set my comment section ablaze by throwing out my opinion on this topic. So y'all gonna have to figure it out for yourselves. Let's move on to number four. So number four on my list of things that Americans don't feel like Europeans are ready to hear, it's called soccer and it's not as entertaining as football. Now, obviously they're talking about American NFL football. So first off, what's considered entertainment is subjective. If someone finds value and is entertained by ice melting, well, who are we to really judge? So personally, I do find better entertainment value from NFL football than I do from soccer or FIFA or world football, as it were. That's personal and it bothers no one. Don't be all authoritative and judgmental like that. Come on. If I had to offer any pushback on this, calling it soccer, look, Americans, most of the world knows it as football. Let it be. This is as silly to me as arguing over what a toilet is called around the world. It's a toilet. No, it's a WC. No, it's a latrine. It's a bagno. That's a baño. Bathroom. It's a salerni. It's a tuale. Kamuna. A latsaki. A tandas. A loo. Chimbuzi. It's a werapaku. Look. You're all talking about the same fucking thing. Relax. But speaking of toilets, number five on my list of things that Americans don't feel like Europeans are ready to hear, public toilets being free should be a standard. I can get on board with this in situations where I don't have coins. I still don't always have coins as much as we need them over here in Europe. But especially in the moments when my daughters need the toilet and I don't have any coins, that's kind of when I wish it was costless. But if I had some pushback on this, those paid toilets, the money for that is actually being put to good use. About 90% of the time, in my experience, the toilet, the bathroom is well kept. There are the rare, neglected, unkept ones, but they're pretty rare from my experience. By comparison though, there's only a 50% chance of you getting a good bathroom in the free public toilets in the US. Again, this is from my own experience and opinion. Usually the state of the overall establishment that you're looking to use will kind of tell you the story ahead of time. Number 6 on my list of things that Americans don't feel like Europeans are ready to hear: stop confusing American people with the American government. US Americans are also horrified with some of the things that occur here. Now, I can feel why somebody would feel like this and want to say it and express it, because even after all I've expressed on this channel here about who I am and what I think, concrete reasons why I even left the States, I still get grouped in by default. Still talk like an American, I still look like an American, I still carry the American bravado that they say we have. I just get grouped in. Doesn't matter what I think, what I feel, what I believe. So I can see this one. Some pushback I would offer though to those who are being lumped in like that: there are a lot of people that claim to think something or feel something or know something, believe something, but do and say nothing. That's what hurts you. Let's move on. Number 7 on my list of things that Americans don't feel like Europeans are ready to hear: I don't think Europeans fully grasp just how large the US is. It spans over 6 time zones. It takes a day to drive through just one state usually. You can literally drive through an entire length of the United Kingdom 3 times before someone in Cali makes it to New York by car. This was obviously made when the UK was a part of the EU, so they used the UK as an example. Now, here's where I can agree with this. Without a train system in the US, a fairly functioning public transportation system like here in Europe, it should be understandable why most folks have to invest in a vehicle. In the States, a lot of the times, you ain't going nowhere if you can't get there. Those who know what I'm saying, know what I'm saying. Some pushback on this is, in most cases, you're not gonna be needing to drive across the state on the regular. So come on, I mean, a lot of owning a vehicle, especially certain types of vehicles, is status. It's all right to admit that sometimes. It's America. It's okay. Number 8 on my list of things that Americans don't feel like Europeans are ready to hear. Europeans invented racism. It's just not as politicized as it is in the US. Oh boy. So there are doctrines and readings on how European colonialism actually led to the onset of race itself being a thing. The implementation of race itself being a thing would have been the pathway to the idea of separatism and division. But I'm not here to teach that class. Just do understand that the goofiness of racism is not border specific. The only pushback I think I can offer on this is I just don't think it would be as politicized in the States either if there wasn't for so much power and trust put into certain factions, if you know what I mean. You'll have to dissect that and do your own due diligence if you want to get more into it. That's all I got on that. Number 9 on my list of things that Americans don't think Europeans want to hear: most of us can't afford to visit you. We aren't being rude, we're just broke. We're not uncultured. It's a 10-hour flight to some EU countries. We can't just drive over to another country for a weekend rendezvous. I can definitely feel this a little bit, because not only can it take a lot of time, but also a lot of money. And as this person stated, most just ain't got that to just toss around. I understand that more than anybody. Back before I left, I wanted nothing more than to just temporarily go away just for a couple of weeks, even if I couldn't stay. Some pushback I would offer on this is, maybe start small. You guys, Americans, you don't have anything to prove to Europeans that you have an interest in other cultures. I mean, maybe explore closer to home. I hear Canada can be pretty nice. Going there, I know, is cheaper than crossing the ocean. Travel time is considerably less too. Maybe look into that. Number 10. All right, number 10 on my list of 10 things that Americans don't feel like Europeans are ready to hear. It's pretty long. Maybe I'll put it up on the screen, maybe I won't. Making jokes about school shootings and the American healthcare system every time someone makes a joke about your country's food or some other minor quirk or issue just makes you look thin-skinned, childish, and obnoxious. Stop trading insults with Americans by mentioning school shootings and then just dropping the mic. That's not having the impact that you think it is. Americans are by and large horrified by gun violence in this country. But you using hurt or dead children to win a petty internet argument about whose country is better does you no credit and shows your cold, cold hearts. Oh man, what is there to really say about this? It's not a flex to bring up in an insulting way bad things that happened to good people that had no control over those things happening. Bad people doing bad things cannot be easily predicted nor prepared for. Children that have fallen victim to such things had no say in it. And not that they should have had to, but they couldn't protect themselves, and they'll never be able to defend themselves now. How would spitting directly on them be a fair angle for anyone to take in an ego-filled internet banter going back and forth? And I see it all the time. Non-American people think that's the way to shut people up. No, that's the way to prove that you don't care about innocent people, innocent children. Random acts of violence happen here too. It doesn't matter that it's a little less. One is too many. Would you be happy if somebody blamed you or made you feel bad about how your grandma got mowed down by a semi-truck at the Christmas festival just because y'all were arguing about who had the best food? No, you would not be happy. Silly, right? Then stop. Push back on this? I got none. It's just wrong. I mean, stop doing this. Leave the internet sometimes. Find some peace. Kind of like I did in the video I made about how I went from a hectic American life to a peaceful one here in Europe. Like the video before you leave. Talk to me in the comments about things you may or may not agree with. I usually respond to everybody. Talk to y'all in the next video. Whew! That went dark. Here's some bonus ones for y'all to consider. Europeans, Americans do not put hot dogs on pizza. Y'all are pretty fat too. Hating Americans is not a personality. There are actual more states than Texas, New York, and California, you know. When you come to the US and complain about how things are done, you are the equivalent of the American tourist you complain so much about. We don't actually think about you as much, apparently, as you think about us. You have a drinking problem. It's not a thing to brag about. And this one is from a European that happened to be in the forum too. I was surprised to discover how friendly and helpful Americans actually are. From watching TV, you guys just come across as arseholes. But in person, you guys are great. Keep up the good work, Americans.